Okay, now welcome back. Now in this process we'll be learning about making of the mold. As you can see behind, these are the things that we'll be discussing about how to make the mold. And actually the mold making process is very simple if you know the procedures, or it is like very difficult. It took us 8 months to actually make a mold, and that I'll not discuss in what mistake, whatever we have done, we've already covered it. But it is not so simple also if you don't know, because I'll just tell you how to do it. It may seem very simple to you now, but it was, just believe us, it was not so simple to do the mold also, because we didn't know what material to use and what exactly to do. We did a lot of expensive, used a lot of expensive materials and a lot of expensive stuff. Like what I'm about to show you, it will just make your mold in fraction of money that we used. We used to pay a lot to just make a small mold. Like we used to get plywoods and MDF, melamine woods or PP sheets, fat plastics, and a lot of other things, silicone thing, because we didn't know anything about how to make a mold. So now just moving forward, straightforward, I'll just have to tell you what you have to do is, as discussed in the previous part, when you do a mold, when you have a project in your mind, everything is done, now you have a size, a dimension in your mind. So this dimension I have to make a mold, and mold is something that acts as a exterior body. Whatever shapes you want to, or you have to desire, you have to put that resin thing into a shape, and that shape is attained. So that basically is a mold. So mold, I know what is, I am sure you know what mold is, but there are like everything that even from soaps or ornaments or anything, it is all, everything is made into molds. So molds is that thing that gives a shape to a certain thing, like ice cubes and all. So that is a mold. So for this thing, obviously we have to make a mold to put all our liquid inside and to harden the liquid without spilling it out, and then to attain a certain surface to it, attain a certain shape. So that basically is the fundamentals of the mold. Secondly, the resin or the epoxy, it will not stick, it will not bond to a surface which is very smooth. Like if your resin is poured on the floor, if the floor is absolutely smooth and leveled and there are no holes and all, it will just come out of that. If there is, this bonds, this silicon bonds with something which is rough, it will just, the bond will be so much that both the surfaces will be one. So that is the character of it. Anything which has a slightly roughness to it, because on the micro level they are like holes, they are like rough surfaces, and anything rough, it just penetrates inside and just becomes one to it. But if that surface is absolutely smooth, it will just be hard by itself and will not stick to that other surface. So that is the fundamental behind the mold. So that the surface which you are doing the our thing, that should be absolutely smooth, so that once the curing is done, it will just release, because this should be very smooth. The mold which we are preparing, that should be absolutely smooth. If that is rough, so that will just bond with that surface, and that the entire thing will be one. So it will just, we have to destroy the other thing. So that is the reason why the mold which we are making, it should be absolutely smooth, and absolutely not, it should not be rough, it should be smooth as possible. It should not it should not be favorable for the resin to get become one with it. So that is the reason why it should be absolutely smooth. So this is the main idea behind. That is why silicone molds are used. But silicone mold, they are like rubber, they are like very smooth. Nothing penetrates inside that. It is like absolutely, there are no holes. So nothing penetrates into that, so that it is just, it can be released. So that is the main idea of this. So moving forward with this, now mold making. There are a lot of materials that are used in making molds, and there are a lot of advanced thing also that we'll be discussing in the later courses. So there are a lot of advanced thing also, but now the perfect thing that even we are using now most of the time, and it is not costing us much money also, and very simple to do, is just you have to go, once you decide the size of your project. For example, let's take 3 feet by 2 feet table if you are making a project of that size. So as I discussed earlier, it should be slightly bigger, your mold should be slightly bigger than your project. Obviously, because of, I told you, there will be a lot of wastages on the sides, the cutting and all will be there, and there are a lot of other things. You should not just you should give a breathing space. Even when we do art, there is something called breathing space. So in anything, when you, even if or your picture, there always is some space, empty space there. So that is called the breathing space. Even your frames also, a picture frame that has a breathing space. So that is a rule of everything. So anything that you do now, even if your mold, it should have a space, it should be slightly bigger than your project. So now if you are making a project of 3:2, so I suggest just like 2 inches or like 1 inches at least, you have to keep more space. You have to you have to make a mold slightly bigger than your size. So keep that in mind. Secondly, now is the process of preparation of the mold. So this mold preparation is, you have to go to your stores, your local stores, hardware stores, and you have to look for this MDF wood. Now I have kept this thing behind here. This is what is called MDF wood. Now this MDF wood or MDF is like a plywood only. It is easily available in where you get the plywoods and all. This is usually used in making art stuff, in carving and making walls and all. So this is that thing, and this is made up of waste wood products, or the waste product which is let out of the wood, the husk, everything. So it is highly compressed, and this thing is made. So this is called MDF wood. MDF wood is the one which is used behind the photo frames. The soft wood which is used behind the photo frame, that is MDF wood. So all you have to do is get this MDF wood from your local stores, and this is extremely cheap compared to the other plywood and all. So what you have to do is get 18 mm. You have to buy a 18 mm MDF sheet. So this comes in a dimension of 8 by 4, 8 foot by 4 foot. So you have to purchase that. It will just, right now today the price in Goa, at least from where we buy, it is costing something around 1200 to 1600. It depends upon the places that we buy from. In city areas it is a bit higher than the other areas. So that is the thing that you have to understand. It is not extremely expensive. So if similar plywood if you are buying, that will easily cost you 8,000 rupees. So see the difference. So you have to buy this MDF wood sheet, and as I told you, just whatever your dimension is, cut a bit. The size should be a bit higher than your required dimensions. You have to just buy that and get it cut from them only. Get it cut from them, or you can just get it home and just cut it yourself. Use your carpenters or whoever, or just get a cutting tool which is called a cutting tool like this. This is called tile cutter. This is very commonly used, this thing, and you can cut it yourself only. So it is not a big deal. You just have to plug in and just cut it straight. You have to either use your carpenters or the people who provide this woods. They cut and give you, or you can cut it yourself according to the size that you need, according to the size of the base of your project. And I told you slightly bigger than your project. So cut it like now. See, this is cut. So now if your project is something like this, so you have to cut it accordingly. If my project is somewhere, it is something like this. My wood will come here, and this thing. So I will just cut it here a bit higher than what is required, at least by 1 or 2 inches. The breathing space, it should be higher than that, at least 1 inch or 2 inch. So for better thing, just cut it 2 inches higher, 2 inches more than your required dimensions. So that will be perfect. So once that is cut, you require the whatever dimension that you need. Once that is cut, then there will be the rest of the wood. It will remain. Once you cut this part, the rest will remain. So what you have to do is cut the rest part into strips like this. See, these are strips. So this is 18 mm thickness. So you have to buy a 18 mm thick this MDF wood. So this is that. So now you have to cut the strips, and the cutting of the size of the strip should be, if you are making a project of 1 inch or 2 inch. So always remember the side. This will be used for side walls. So always remember it has to be double the thickness that you are looking for. If you are making 1 inch, so you have to cut the side strips, this thing, the bridge of 2 inches. Just remember it should be double whatever your thickness that you are looking for. Much bigger also is good, because this can be used for other projects also. It is not just one time. I will explain to you how that can be done. It can be used multiple times. It is not just one time you do and just throw it away. No, it can be used like multiple times. We use one mold to make at least 10 tables. So before we used to do one mold and just throw it out. So, it was that thing. Now if you just make one mold, this thing, then you can use it for multiple projects. So that is one thing. So if you are cutting the side walls also, keep in mind you will be doing a lot of other projects also. So keep cut the side walls much bigger than your required size. So this is something that we usually use a lot of times. So once that is done, once you cut your base here, and then you cut the strips here. The strips are cut and that base is cut, your desired dimensions. So then what you have to do is, now if you can see, this is not smooth enough. This has roughness. So as I explained to you earlier, if the resin epoxy, it falls here, it will become one with this thing. So if this is smooth, if this surface is smooth, it will not stick, it will just come out, because this is the process of demolding. So for that reason, what you have to do is, your regular tapes, packing tapes, these are the regular packing tapes. All you have to do is, like here, tape it. See, if you can see here, we've just taped it with this roller. This roller is easily available. It will just cost you $200 something, and this tape will just cost you around 15 rupees to 20 rupees. So all you have to do is get this thing, see how many tapes you will be needing, or more if you need, just take it in bulk only, it will not be a waste. So what you have to do is just tape it. Just tape it. Make sure you don't keep gaps. Don't keep a lot of gaps here. Just try to like tape the entire surface. See how we have done on top of each other. We just taped the entire surface with this tape, this packing tape. And that same rule applies here also. Tape the side walls also here. See, this is all taped. Look at this behind also. This is all taped. So this is for the what I said, to smoothen the surfaces. So now this is already taped and this is smooth. This will the resin will not stick to these things. See, the resin will just, there is some resin here. It will just peel off. Whenever you do a project, it will just peel off. It will just come off, because this is already smooth and it does not have any roughness to it. So it can be demolded. And this is like, nobody knows about this. How we use MDF wood and MDF wood and regular tapes. Previously on YouTube and all, they recommend to use these other tapes which are called duct tapes and all. Duct tapes are the silver color tapes which they usually show in the movies and all, when they do the kidnapping and they just tie your face and all. Those are called duct tape. They are extremely expensive, and they are like really very difficult to use than this, and they are not available also widely. They are not normally available, at least in Goa. We find a lot of difficulty to get those tapes, but those tapes are 250 rupees. It is one tape, and this is 15 to 20 rupees. So see the difference. So it will save a lot of money also on this thing, which can be easily done with our regular tapes. Okay, so once that is taped, so this is taped. Yes, your bottom surface is taped. Your side walls are taped here. So now the material is done. The material to make the mold is done, is prepared. Now we have to go and build a mold.